It's hard. Getting your, I'm an indie author, so I built my store specifically for our kind here. And for Author Nation, I'm going to be doing a talk in November about getting your books into indie bookstores. But I took the easy way out and I just opened a bookstore. So this summer, I've got most of the marketing and everything lined up for my events. So now the rest of the summer is going to be focused on getting my book into, I want to try and get it into 50 bookstores this summer in the next 2 months, basically. And a lot of that is going to be, I'm going to target a mile around their store on Facebook and just drop my ads right on their stores. So people come in and ask for it, and then I'll approach them. And then, or I'll see if they have some sort of intake set up on their website for indie authors.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 441 of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. In today's episode, I have an interview with Donovan Scherer. Donovan's an author and illustrator who creates worlds of adventure with a sense of humor and a little bit of dread that everything will go terribly, terribly wrong. In 2019, he opened Studio Moonfall in downtown Kenosha, Wisconsin. An art studio and bookstore featuring his endlessly increasing body of work and where he highlights other local and independent authors and artists. We talk about his art, his writing, his move to invest in this business, the realities of being a small business owner and manager of a bookstore, and so much more. And that's coming up later in this episode. But first, let's hear a word about this episode's sponsor. As an author, I know how hard it can be to get honest and helpful feedback on a manuscript without waiting months or spending a fortune. I also remember very clearly how terrifying it is to show that first manuscript to another person. What if they hate it? What if it's terrible? And how the heck do I write a brief synopsis for this book? I don't even know where to begin. I've spent endless hours, days, weeks, years developing this book. That's some of the reasons why I'm a big fan of ManuscriptReport.com. ManuscriptReport.com is a platform where you load a PDF of your manuscript, and usually within half an hour, you get a brilliant overview of your work. You get a description of the book that can be used to generate sales copy for it, like back of the cover blurb. You get a synopsis of the book. You get a breakdown of the genres and themes and tropes that appear in your manuscript. And you'll also get insights on who your target and ideal readers would be. A list of comparable titles and authors, as well as what makes them similar and what makes your book unique. You'll get a list of appropriate keywords for use in ads targeting your ideal readers. You get options on sales pitches for the various audiences that this book will attract, and even a draft of a press release that you can use when letting people know about your book. And you get all of that without that fearful risk of another person's judgmental eyes. So if you've never shown your manuscript to anyone else and you just want to see what it does, how it resonates, where it might fit in the market, this is a great way you can do that without anyone else seeing it. And trust me, I remember how that feels. I know how you feel. You can use it for that, or you can use it if your book is ready to go and you're wanting to either pitch it to the right publisher or agent or editor, or publish it yourself and take advantage of all of this marketing content, all of this valuable content that you can use for marketing the book. If you want to get an idea of where your book might fit into the market, as well as some fabulous expert marketing options and pitch ideas, check out manuscriptreport.com. And if you use code MARK5, that's MARK, the numeral 5 at checkout, you can save $5 off. And now some comments from episode 440, where Maddie Dalrymple and I talked about our book on podcasting for authors, but the comments seem to be related to the increase in scammers trying to email authors. And over on YouTube, Silvis T.O. said, "There's a special place in heck for those scammers that use false praise for profit. Validation for writers is like our manna. It's a rough go when it's not doled out liberally and on a consistent basis. Preaching to the choir." And Maddie, the indie author, said, "Mark, thank you so much for a great conversation. I hope people will listen to the end because your reflection on how AI has changed the landscape of email outreach since we recorded this conversation back in June 2025 is vital for people to know about. With the spike in faux personalized pitches, I have moved away from recommendations related to email outreach for podcast guest appearances, and am leaning even more heavily into the importance of building and nurturing your writing and publishing communities." And thank you for that. And it's interesting, Maddie mentions this because just the other day, Alexandra Torrey sent out an email in her newsletter for authors, and I saw a lot of people resharing that over on Facebook, saying, yeah, she's captured it, and there's scammers are getting better. Here are the things to look out for as well. And I'll try to include a link to that in the show notes. And then another comment over at starkreflections.ca for that episode, Edwin Downward said, "This episode gives new emphasis to a couple of ideas that were rebooted when I got my copy of your podcasting book." Haha, yay. Thanks, Edmund. I'm glad you picked up that book. The first is this idea I've been playing with but don't really have the skill to create, and that is to design a backdrop that would make it look like I was on the bridge of the ship in my stories while doing video interviews, which I think is a fantastic idea. And I think there's probably some artistic person who may be able to help you with that. And Edwin says the second comes from a little tidbit I picked up where a podcast guest pointed out that writers and readers use different language. And if we want to reach readers, we need to learn how to speak in terms they use. To this end, I've been searching for podcasts that introduce readers to new authors in my genre, science fiction, which turns out to be easier said than done. And you are so right, Edwin. It is challenging to find that right podcast for the reading audience as it is the listening audience. And that is an ongoing challenge that we have with authors. I also received a ton of comments in the last week on a recent post that I shared on my Stark Reflections Substack feed. Often those Stark Reflections in the Substack feed are related to reflections I've shared in this podcast. This is something I want to dig into a little bit deeper as well. I've kind of ignored it for the longest time, but I thought I'd give it another shot and leverage some content there. But in this one, I shared, I did some math at a recent book signing and just how it doesn't add up on the effectiveness of doing an author book signing. And now the title and the opening of it and the math of it seems like it's going to be a downer. And it is. It's this very stark reflection about the economic reality of the time spent as an author versus the income earned. But I do share why, after 25 years and after knowing this for a long time, why it's so important for me to keep doing these types of events. And it's kind of related to something that Maddie mentioned in her comment. Those in-person analog events, in my mind, can allow me to separate myself from the digital slush of this world. Anyways, I'll have a link to that article from Substack in the show notes at starkreflections.ca, and I will, of course, likely summarize it in the Stark Reflections newsletter that I do send out as well. Now, patrons got the audio of the first draft of that article before it went live, and they got that in the patron-only audio feed, I should say. the goal of me doing articles like that, sometimes I'll find an article and say, hey, this is really cool, here's a link, and patrons, I read it for you as well. I do this to try and save patrons the time so that you can listen to the article rather than have to go find a link and click it, because my thought is that if you listen to podcasts, you're already doing that, and that can save you some time as well. Now, speaking of patrons, I'd like to offer a thanks and a hello to S.K. Randolph and Sylvie Soul as they joined the team of patrons who support this podcast over at patreon.com/starkreflections. Thank you and welcome, SK and Sylvie. Your names and author website links have been added to the patron list at starkreflections.ca, and I trust you've gained access to the 8 years of bonus text, video, and visual content I've created, as well as the patron-only podcast feed. Let me know if you're having trouble accessing it. And as mentioned, I did drop a fresh episode just this past week. Now, speaking of patrons, I'll also be sharing a video I did with Donovan back in June when we had this conversation, offering a visual tour of his store so you can kind of see what it looks like. He talks about it, but it's nice to be able to see that. And in addition, in our conversation, Donovan's going to talk about a cool promotional opportunity featuring your book in his store. And I have chatted with Donovan about this, and I'm going to be sharing that in my post-interview reflections as an opportunity for one of my patrons to take advantage of. Thanks to the generous patrons who support this contest. This contest. Thanks to the patrons who support this podcast, as well as my coffee buddies over at buymeacoffee.com/Mark Leslie. Let's roll a bumper, and I'm going to do a personal update. Okay, so I am off to Vegas very soon. I'm going to be at Author Nation, and I fly out on November 2nd, and I'll be there. I'm so thrilled that on November 2nd, I'm going to be meeting up with Joanna Penn and just getting caught up with Joe. I mean, God, I love spending time with her and just chatting and stuff. And just talking to Joe makes me feel so much smarter. I learned so much from her, but also she is a dear friend, and I'm so sad that I only get to see her from time to time. So I'm really looking forward to us spending some time together before the conference kind of kicks off. We will be on a panel together, so I'll talk about that in a second. On Monday, it's Vendor Day, so interact, networking with a whole bunch of the people who are there to support Author Nation. I will be mostly at the Draft Digital table, and every once in a while, I'm going to be over at the Wide for the Win table with my buddies who are also fellow board members of Wide for the Win. And you can check them out over at wideforthewin.com for the community, as well as the link to the Facebook group, which is now over 18,000 people strong. I've loved this movement. It's been a lot of fun to be in it from almost day one. And then on Tuesday, be in the Platinum Room at 1:15 p.m. I'm doing a panel on career author strategies, setting up your books in your brand for long-term success. That's going to be myself. It's going to be Joanna Penn, Johnny B. Truant, and Dan Wood from Drafted Digital. We're going to be talking about patterns and long-term success for authors with folks who've been in the industry for quite a while. So that'll be fun. On Thursday, I'll be back in the Platinum Room at 2:30 p.m. and I'm doing a solo presentation on thinking and earning outside the book. Basically, ways to leverage your author IP that aren't just about the book. And then on Friday, I'm going to be one of the participating authors in Reader Nation. Now, I won't be selling there just because of the logistics, etc., but I will be there with my author table, my Mark Leslie author table. I'll be offering some free Mark Leslie content digital downloads of ebooks and audiobooks. So that's something for readers in the horror and urban fantasy realms. And I'm also going to have something there for writers too. Again, ebook and audiobook download. Just an opportunity to check this out. And I stole that idea from Becca Syme, who was there a few years ago. I think she went there, she brought 100 books, she just gave them away, and she just wanted to meet people. From the weight in the luggage and stuff, I'm just doing some cards, leveraging BookFunnel with a free digital download and signing books, etc. But I'm kind of thrilled to be participating in that this year, and also to measure how successful it is, because I'll have those trackable codes that I can see how effective was this. Now, I have also, in other news, I've started to make some progress on a book that's due with the publisher on December 1st. My Ghost Stories of the Great Lakes book. I'm just loving it. I'm having fun with it. And I've made a little bit of progress on a short horror story that's due with a different publisher for December. And I have to tell you, it's great to be able to get back to writing, and it feels like a while since I've done that. And I've done quite a bit of writing of nonfiction for writers, but also the other kinds of writing that I love, horror and even nonfiction, true ghost stories. I love to write so many different things, and that's been fun. Yeah, I did the joke book, and yeah, Maddie and I did some work on two of our books this year as well. But these, I guess, maybe just these solo projects and just heads down writing rather than collaborative writing have felt really amazing. And this week, my good friend Julie and we've done 4 days in a row of a pair of 25-minute writing sprints via Zoom every morning. We connect, we chat for a few minutes, set the timer, and we write. The timer goes off, we chat for a few minutes, set the timer, and write. Now, it has been great for both of us to make some solid progress. And I love that when the timer goes off, there's times when it scares the crap out of me because I was like, I was just in the midst of this. I lost track of time, which is one of the most beautiful and powerful things that can happen to you as a writer. But one of the other beautiful and powerful things that can happen to you as a writer is thinking about bookstores and thinking about your books in bookstores and looking at Donovan and what he did and the very creative approach he took to getting his book into bookstores. Now, he took it quite far. Not everyone's going to do this, but I loved having this conversation with him, talking about his writing, his art, and of course, Studio Moonfall, the shop that he runs in Wisconsin. And that is coming up right after this bumper. Hey, Donovan, welcome to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I can't believe I haven't yet had you on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad
What the hell's wrong with me?
got around to it.
I
That's
know.
okay. I had to get my store established here. It's been a long time mess in the making, but it kind of knows what it's doing now.
Well, that's good. Good. Yeah, maybe we just wanted to let it. We wanted to let it ferment a little bit,
Yep.
or soak in that in those barrels to get the essence. So before we talk about Moonfall Studio, let's talk about you and what got you into writing in the first place.
Yeah, Studio Moonfall. It's
Oh, so
backward
oh my
around.
God, I the heat has gotten to me. I can't.
It's
So
been a lot.
it's Scherer Donovan, right? That's
Yeah, Sheer Donovan of Moonfall Studio. So yeah, Studio Moonfall and Donovan Sheer. So yeah, I originally started just drawing. So I write and illustrate all my own books, and it started with me just drawing up little characters, and then when I got the opportunity to do something more with them, then I started writing middle grade chapter books to give those characters a backstory and a life, and did a few chapter books, and then I started actually learning a bit about the self-publishing world.
right.
And I never learned how to sell books online though. It was always through comic conventions and farmers markets has been the main way that I got books out to people. So
Really? Okay.
yeah,
And this is like back in 2009. This was with that series that you were writing, right?
yep, the Fear and Sunshine books. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that was 2009 I started, and then the next year I immediately went into doing farmers markets and comic conventions as the main way
Okay.
to get them out to people.
Well, and I guess was that sort of out of necessity because while a lot of indie authors were doing digital stuff and ebooks, you probably recognize your audience wanted the tactile physical book experience.
Yeah, I think for that age grade level for the books, I think they just made more sense that way. And
Right.
my own art style is kind of cartoony. It's I call it Dragon Ball meets Bugs Bunny, and that was big influences for me growing
Okay.
up. And so it works well for like upper elementary, middle school level audience. And they're not reading ebooks and all that. But I did have a bit of a grasp on some of the digital marketing and all that, but I wanted to do weirder things than go after Kindle and all that.
Right.
Yeah, I think when I after publishing the first two books, my big idea to do marketing for it was to teach myself programming, and I launched a game for iPhone and Android where you shoot brains at zombie beans, and it's all
Okay.
just characters from the book. So it was a
Wow.
weird commercial for it.
Wow, that's amazing that yeah, you were doing something like that, so innovative to draw people back to a physical book.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it really worked too well, but the Zombies live on. I'm doing coloring books with them. Everybody on my Patreon, I draw them as zombie beans, so they get featured in
So
color.
you get so wait, somebody becomes a patron of this and you draw them as a zombie being.
Yep, yeah.
Oh, so they get their own caricature in your
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah. I'll
Wow.
grab one here and show you. So there's one of our zombie
Oh my God,
posters.
that's so awesome. I
Yep.
love that.
Got, I think there's, I don't know, I've gotten like 80, 86 or so Patreon members over the years. And I'm mainly doing coloring books now, because it's easier for me to produce those monthly, which helps
Right.
me maintain the subscription.
So what is that? Is that so people are patrons so they get access to the coloring books, or they get access to what some of the art from the books, or how does that work?
Mostly it's just to support me doing the store, as I've known a lot of these my customers since they were little kids, and because I've been out in people's faces for years now. So a lot of them sign up just to support the store and everything I'm doing. But I want to make sure they're getting something for their money. So I try to
Right,
put out either new books every month, or if I don't get a new book out, then I'll do something simple, like I make a bunch of journals, like the low content stuff. So I can be
right.
like, pick something. I'm just under 300 books, so I'm probably like 230 of them are journals, so there's a lot of variety for people to choose from.
Wow, I love that. So I want to get into Studio Moonfall, but before we go there, because I'm going to want to talk to you about the origin of that and how you help authors and how they can help you
Yeah, yeah.
helping authors. But I want to go back to the markets and the farmers markets and stuff like that because you've had a lot of experience with that. Are there any tips or advice that you would have for authors who are looking at doing that sort of work?
Uh yeah, I think find I do a weekly farmers market, and I'm out there all summer long, and
Okay.
usually in the winter as well. So having that amount of frequency really helps you just dial in everything that you're doing, from your table display to your sales pitch and
Right.
all of that. I think there is a book called, I think it was Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, and it got into details on doing like a flow chart for your sales. And it's once you start working on just a little talking flow chart when you're interacting with people, when you're doing it in person, you get immediate feedback, and you can really see like what they gravitate toward when you're speaking with them. And I had it written out for a long time, but now it's just built into my brain, so I can do
Wow.
it off the cuff.
How so like you've been doing this for years, right?
15 years now.
15 years with the market. So, okay, now you live in a climate similar to me. You're in Wisconsin.
Yep.
So it's not like you're in Texas or something and you can
Yeah.
do an outdoor market all year round.
Yeah.
Do you have like we do have farmers markets that are inside in the winter months here? Is that where you're
Yep. Yeah, they don't reach the numbers that we do, but it's still enough to justify the cost of setting up.
right?
Most of these markets, they're not crazy expensive like with comic conventions.
So is
Um,
it like do you pay like a monthly or like an annual fee to have the same spot, booth, table, whatever every week?
No, I will book out probably around 6 months in advance.
Okay.
And they're usually it's just simpler for the organizers to keep people in the same place. And
Yeah.
they know that the attendees all appreciate it. as I'll have people that come in every week to buy some of the little merchandising sort of stuff that I make.
Okay. And so I guess you must have stuff from the store now that you sometimes bring into the
Uh,
farmers market as well?
no, I
Oh.
only bring my own work for
Oh,
the
so it's you as the artisan.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
I want to make sure that people come out to the market for like local food or artwork and things like that. So
Yeah.
I hold off on bringing in any of the other merchandise that I sell in the store. But starting next weekend, I am going to be I'm expanding out to two pop-up tents. So we're going to bring in two guest authors every week for the next couple of months. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, this is our first time. I've wanted to do it for years, and this is our first time actually trying it out. So I've been spending the last 2 days building out the graphics, and I'll be setting up Facebook events for each author so we can get some
Wow.
marketing juice on it.
That's fantastic. So, wait, you've been doing the markets for 15 years. So this is the summer of 2025. So that means like since 2010,
Yep.
you've been doing this thing that I think not a lot of authors, like around the time that authors were going, ooh, ebooks.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I've tried to get things going online with it, and it like here and there. I mean, like Patreon's going okay, and every once in a while I'll sell a book on Amazon, but I've really just focused all my attention on in-person sales. I have cut down on most of the comic conventions and all that just because they a lot of the focus around probably like 2017 or so shifted more towards just collectibles and celebrities. So it
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was a good place for original IP to
Right.
make a living off of. But now I'm, along with bringing in the guest authors every week for the farmers market, I started running festivals in the parking lot across from my bookstore.
Oh,
So
cool. And that's
running.
it's more event or a special event and something special because you get to interact with the artisan with the and I say artisan to mean writer or artist or whatever because you're all of the above, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right. So okay. So having worked in the book industry and have understand the minimum margins that you're operating on and the extravagant costs of rent and utilities and taxes and all those things, why on earth and when and what inspired Studio Moonfall?
So I've had the storefront for 5 years now, or I think we're coming up on the sixth year. So I opened it at the end of 2019, which was
Yay, when everything was just
real cool
about to be
timing.
perfect for in-person
Yeah.
experiences. Yeah.
But fortunately, I have a great landlord, so my rent is real cheap for yeah, I mean it's a small store. It's only around 400 square feet, but my rent is cheap. It is in a it's a poor foot traffic area, but it is a good general area as long as I can get attention to what it is over here. I'm on the wrong side of the block. I'm actually about 60 feet away from being in a good location.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, ideally I get enough people on my Patreon that I could just buy the building and then I'll be in the good foot traffic area. So
Okay.
we'll see if we can make that happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I live above the store, and then when the previous tenant was going to be moving out, I talked to my landlords and just called dibs on it. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't intending to open a bookstore. It was going to be more of I wanted to do it as more of a showcase sort of thing where I would have my stuff, and then I could either run workshops or bring in guest authors to do little talks. But with the COVID shutdowns, it ended up making more sense for me to go retail and then have a place where authors who like me, like I lost all of the live events that I was doing for that year. So this w was a pretty good backup plan. It was hard, but it was still better than anything else I could have been doing at the time.
Wow. So let's just describe the store. You said it's about 400 square feet. You
Mm.
have books. You have what else do you carry in the store?
So we've got I probably for the books, it's all local authors and
Right.
people that I know from the self-publishing world. So
Right.
I don't carry any of the big popular titles unless I personally know them. So it's
Yeah.
probably like 99% of the authors I know them or have at least interacted with them for a little
Right.
bit. And then it's all my books. I do have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff because I dip my toes in some game design too. And then a lot of merchandise based on my books for stickers and buttons and things. It's the benefit of being the artist who makes coloring books. Each coloring book I can turn into around 600 different products with.
Right.
uh,
Well, because you owned the art, because you
Yep.
created it. You didn't have to license the copyright from
Yep.
someone. Wow.
Yeah, so I can slap that artwork on t-shirts or stickers or buttons. And the stickers I use that for Patreon rewards too. So it's a significant amount of products I can make just with one title. Then we've got an artist alley section. I have tried getting comics going in the store, but haven't really had any success with it. Mainly because of people looking for collectible sort of things instead of
Right.
original IP. And then used books too. I have a little bit I used to have a lot of used books and I've trimmed it down a bit. But the used books, I would either I do Free Book Friday just to attract people into the store, or we sell them. All the used books are at most $3 each, and
Yeah.
that's just they're kind of for advertising to get people's attention over here.
And there actually could be a bit more margin in the used books, right? As well. Way more
Uh,
margin than in the new books.
Well, the used books, I got them all for free because during the COVID shutdowns, the library they kept taking in more and more books and didn't have a way of doing the Friends of the Library sales to distribute them. So they just kept building up piles and they're storing them in the Parks Department warehouse. And Parks wanted to throw them all out. And then I found out about them. So I went, checked it out, saw what they had, and then I came back with a U-Haul and picked up 10 pallets of books. So
Oh my
just
goodness.
been trickling through them for out of storage and everything. I should be through all of the books this summer with the book festivals because we sell them
Right.
for $1 a piece that day or for those days.
Oh man. Wow, you could walk away with a lot of books. Yeah.
Yeah, it was they're almost gone now. I got to figure out if I want to continue with the used books or not because
Yeah.
think they may have had their lifetime here, but we'll see. I've got a month or so to figure that out. But as far as margin and all that goes, probably uh, I would say at least half of what I sell in the store is my own work.
Right.
So I've got I think my books would be the lowest margin thing there, but then with all the merchandise and everything, that helps pad all of it.
Right, right,
So
of course.
yeah, and with the indie author books, when was it? I think it was at the it was the last 20 books conference. I had started doing a uh books for marketing deal with indie authors. So I would have them give me I call it the cut the line thing. So you don't have to wait around to get your books on the shelves. It was basically they give me 8 copies of their books. So I have inventory for the store. And then I set up a year-long marketing thing. We do a video of their book in the shop and then a series of photos that go out every month. And I do face out placement on the shelves and things like
Wow.
that. So I try
So
to
wait,
pack.
wait. The cost is basically providing 8 physical copies of the
Yep.
book. And
So
okay, all right.
yeah, it ends up it's a pretty good amount of time for like the production and stuff on the marketing and all that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think I think it's a good balance. And it's cheaper than it would cost for an author to get all that made because they're only paying their cost for the inventory on it.
Right, right,
It keeps the front end cost for me down aside from the time.
right. So it's kind of like the investment is okay, I'm doing this thing. Here you go.
Yep.
And it's not costing me anything other than my raw cost of shipping and printing these books.
Yeah.
And but you're
Um,
getting a benefit of what most indie authors never get is
yep.
a book in a bookstore, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and feature them on the like face out on the shelves, and they go the face out ones, they're on a rotation, so they get highlighted in the email newsletter. And most of those books, it helps them move. There's definitely a
Yeah.
noticeable difference with those.
So how does that work? So not authors listen to this podcast, and
Mhm.
authors going, "Ooh, I'd love to send Donovan eight
Yeah.
copies of my book." Is it just you? They just ship them, or is there a form they have to fill out to apply? Because obviously you only have 400 square feet.
Yeah.
You can't carry everything.
Well, I live above the store too, so I've got a living room and a second bedroom that
Right.
also part of my new storage facility. So studiomoonfall.com/authors. I've got a author profile submission form there, a book submission form, and the info on Cut the Line. For Cut the Line, it's there's no form or anything currently. It's just reach out to me and let me know that you're interested, and I can make sure that I can take on the books. Because I do have a cap on how many books I take into it, so I'm not completely spamming Facebook. I'm already posting like 20 times a day on Facebook.
Yeah.
So if when I share these books every day on there. So if I go too much, then it's just going to dilute it.
Right.
So gotta have a little bit of a limit there
Of
for now.
course.
We'll see.
Cool. So what are because you understand both sides of the author and well, the author, the artist, and the bookstore owner. What are some things that you wish authors knew about the realities of the bookstore and how they might be able to, right? Because the dream is, you walk in a bookstore, you see your stuff.
Yeah.
So what's that gap that they have between the desire and it actually happening?
You mean for getting their books into the bookstore?
Yeah, and even working with a bookstore owner like you.
I think the best way to do it is to find out what the bookstore is already doing and where you can jump into like their events that they have planned. I do every Friday, I bring in a guest author, and then I do the
Like
monthly.
into the store.
Yeah, it's like a little meet and greet. We don't have enough room for doing a panel or anything like that.
Yeah,
But they come in and hang out for a few hours. It may or may not be busy, and if it's not busy, then we just hang out and talk shop. Usually we'll sell a handful of books for those though. But yeah, I do that, and then the book festivals. So I've got the things in place already for any sort of author marketing that I do.
right,
Usually, if an author has a really great idea that they want to do, I'll just smile and nod, but I'd probably never implement it because I'm spinning too many plates at the time. And I assume that's a lot of the case for most bookstore owners is uh, we, as long as they're a little bit established, they probably know what they want to be doing and what fits with their either schedule or staffing capabilities. So
right.
any new ideas are going to be hard. I've had people that wanted to do like full on book readings in the store, and it's just one of those things that doesn't make sense. So
Well,
it's
how could you fit the people?
yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, usually it's just easier to find out what the bookstore has going on as far as events or promotions, and if they already have an established way for taking in new authors to carry their books. It's hard. Getting your like I'm an indie author, so I built my store specifically for our kind here. And
hmm
um, for Author Nation, I'm going to be doing a talk in November about getting your books into indie bookstores. But I took the easy way out, and I just opened a bookstore.
Bought and opened my own bookstore.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not the
like
easy
that's what
way
you should do. Just open your own store. But
out.
so this summer, I've got most of the marketing and everything lined up for my events. So now the rest of the summer is going to be focused on getting my book into. I want to try and get it into 50 bookstores this summer in the
Right.
next 2 months, basically. And a lot of that is going to be. I'm just gonna I'm gonna target a mile around their store on Facebook and just drop my ads right on their stores. So people come in and ask for it, and then I'll approach them. And then,
Right.
or I'll see if they have some sort of intake set up on their website for indie authors. But
Yeah.
I don't want to go in cold because I did that a couple times when I first started it, and it was real disheartening to go in and like this. I'm in my store all the time, but a lot of these stores, they're retailers. So the owners off like at home working on the computer, managing their inventory and everything like that. And I have the benefit of being small and agile enough that I can be boots on the ground all the time. But I think with other stores that are more running their business. I guess that doesn't sound good for my store, but yeah, it's a different breed for more traditional independent bookstores.
Right.
Something that's super hyper indie like this one is.
So is it consignment that you do when you bring stuff in from local authors, or do you order from like Ingram or some other wholesaler?
Yeah, it's I buy everything wholesale. Consignment would be too much to keep track of.
Okay.
So yeah, either order from Ingram or for the local authors, I'll just shoot them a message and be like, "Hey, I need more copies of book one of the series."
Right.
And a
And
lot
you
of
just buy the books from them and you don't worry about returning and things like that, right?
no, I've never done book returns. Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, I guess when you're stuck with stock, you just blow out the inventory and go, "Hey, it's in the dollar sale," right? And
yep,
then you get rid of
yeah.
it.
No, I haven't had to do that. I will put 25% discounts on stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
they don't make it all the way down to the dollar books, though.
Okay. But that's a different model than most authors will experience if they go and talk to a local bookstore, because most bookstores are not going. I mean, I have had bookstore managers write a check and like, yeah, give me 10 books, I'll give you the check right now. And it's like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Really? You don't want like to consignment and returns? It's like, too much
Yeah.
work. Let's just do
Too much
this. I
work.
know it's going to sell. But that's an exception mostly, but that's probably because they know me and I had a relationship. Um, I guess what are the things that authors should know in terms of helping an independent business like yours?
I think a lot of one of the things that I'd like to see more of is more indie authors coming to check out the other indie authors when we do events. Um,
Okay.
just started a couple weeks ago um, running author meetup every week to talk business and everything, just
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation because a lot of the local authors are just working on their own entirely. Like I've known you for years, and a lot of our whole circle of internet indie author kind of folks, like they were a bit more cutting edge than a lot of the people that I've worked with,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to help bring that up and get more people with all the events I do, people always talk about the community that I've built, but I don't really feel it. I think it's just a lot of individuals doing their individual things. So I'm trying to do more with that. And if I need to, I will incentivize them to get more engaged with the community. So I've got the writers for the meetups writing writer tips, and I'm like we're drawing them from a hat so they get a gift card for the store too. And maybe they'll come and spend it when there's a guest author in here on Friday nights.
Oh, I love that there's that regular rotating local sort of celebrity that you get a
Yeah.
chance to interact with. So how is that being advertised to the community? Because it's just outside that walk by traffic.
Yeah.
So you have to walk the extra block and a half or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, we try. I do set up books outside. It's one of the good things about the used books. I can dump them on a table outside, and I don't care if anyone steals them. It's a
Right.
good promo. Um, but it's a lot of Facebook ads and setting up event pages on Facebooks or
Right.
Facebook is a real good way to target specific things locally. And then I'm a partner with the Visitor Bureau, so they're pretty good with promoting things. And then a lot of print advertising too. We have some local magazines for either events or just local business advertising and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I managed to get a real good deal on the front cover corner, so I claimed that for the last couple of years for either the Kenosha Book Festival and or the Free Book Friday or things like
Hmm.
that. I don't think I've mentioned I am in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're right between Milwaukee and Chicago. So if you are local, come see me.
Well,
It's
yeah. That's what I was going to ask is the location. And so, what do you consider local? I guess anyone who's willing to get their butt
Oh
into the
yeah, for
store,
sure.
right?
Yeah, I've actually got Claire Taylor. She's coming up here next
Wait,
week.
she doesn't live that close.
She doesn't live
She
close.
lives further away. I know that.
Yep. So yeah, she'll be here in 2 weeks, and then SG Tosh, she's
So
author.
wait, so even if the author isn't local, but they say, "Hey, I'm going to be in
Yeah.
Milwaukee, I'm going to be nearby. Can I set something up with you?" Is that
Yep.
how that worked?
Usually it's because they have in-laws who have family nearby, so
Bingo.
they're just coming through. Or SG Tosh, she's coming up from Vegas next week for the book festival. She went to school up here, and so she's
Okay.
come to visit. And we just try to time it out that she's up here at the same time as one of the festivals, so I can get her a table for it. And then the authors traveling from farther away, I try to schedule them out as early as possible, just to work around their world tours.
I'm not familiar with the geography here, but I do know that the state borders on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
close
I'm
is Kenosha to the lake? Asks the guy who's writing a book of ghost stories of the Great Lake. So it could be a business expense.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we do have a haunted Kenosha book already. But I'm Lake Michigan is 1 block that way.
So then I need to buy the Haunted Kenosha book. Is it a local author?
It is a local author. So yeah.
Can you make sure I get a signed copy? I will either order it and have it online, or I'll arrange to come in and buy it myself in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, I can I'll see you in a few months, I'm sure. So
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
see you in a few months. But by then I might have visited your store because
Oh
I
yeah.
have to get this book to the publisher by December.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I have to write it, which means I have to go do the research.
Cool. I like this plan. Well, we'll
Yeah.
set you up. We'll have you do one of the Meet the Author Fridays.
Yeah.
I've sold a few of your books in here before, so we've got an
Yeah.
audience.
Which is so cool. Okay, so Donovan, what just random advice as an author, as an artist, as somebody who's been doing 15 years of in-person events and somebody who runs a store about this community? What's some general advice you'd love to share that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
I don't know. Just yeah, I'm pretty consistent with making the new stuff. Like I said, I'm just under 300 books now. Uh,
Wow.
and it all snowballs. I don't think I've had like any sort of great success online or anything, but I got a store, so that's pretty cool. So I think there's a lot of different ways for people to find their success in the business, which is
Right.
so I think if you have an idea of some way that you want to do it, if you just go after it hard enough, you can make it work. You can bend the world to your will with it. And then you don't need to worry about selling all the books on Amazon. You'd be okay if you only sell 1 book a month after 15 years on Amazon because you got a store and you'll sell them there eventually.
Awesome. Donovan, where can people find you as an author artist online, and where can they find Studio Moonfall?
So, Studio Moonfall is the main thing. You could find that on Facebook and Instagram, and then I'm also have Donovan Scherer on Instagram. So those are, I think, the main
Cool.
places.
And your URLs then for the store and for you?
Yeah, studiomoonfall.com and studiomoonfall.com/authors to get your info into the store. And That's really the main thing. The old Donovan Scherer website, I once a year I'll go through and make sure the WordPress plugins are updated, but that's about
Fair
like
enough.
it.
Fair enough.
So yeah, Studio Moonfall is me now.
Yeah.
Or Kenosha
Well,
Book Festival if you are a local author. So yeah, come check that out too. It's we've got the next ones on June 29th, and then it's going to be we've got them every month plus Bookoween in October. So
Book a Ween sounds
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know quite what it is yet, but I got another few weeks to figure it out.
Awesome. Awesome. Donovan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, just a few things to reflect on after this interview with Donovan. The first is the very idea that Donovan acquired a small retail site for selling his own books. And again, he said so many of them. Now, that's a giant risk, but also something that he's had to work very hard at. And it's interesting the way he also balanced off his margin. So, a typical bookstore's margin on books that they acquire from publishers is 40% of the retail price. So that means you sell a book for $10, you've paid $6 for it, or, doing the math, you sell a book for $20, you've acquired it for $12. And that 40% margin has to pay for everything. It has to pay for the rent, the utilities, the time and staff, etc. Now, this is a very small operation, and it's pretty much a one-person operation as well. But I want to go back to, he has a lot of books, and books where he is both the artist and the writer. So again, the costs involved in creating those books are not as extravagant as if he had to pay an artist. So the margin on his own product is going to be pretty solid. So that's a great thing for this retail space. And even the art, he talks about creating products in his store, the artwork based on his books. And so the stickers, et cetera, the costs on those are very minimal. He's not acquiring them from another source. He's creating them himself. And again, that's a huge area where he can make margin. I know there are a lot of bookstores that will carry other merchandise, that sort of bookish related merchandise. And one of the reasons they do that is because that merchandise is really high value. And lower costs, like the margin on that stuff can be 80%, 90% as well. I know, for example, the last bookstore that I managed, the trade buyer who worked for me, she loved bringing in stuff from the Unemployed Philosophers Guild, and they make some really great mugs, different coffee mugs. I have several of them at home. They have other finger puppets, Shakespeare and Freud and different philosophers, and they just had some really fun, nerdy book nerd kind of merchandise as well. But again, the margin on that product was solid. So if you sell something for $15, maybe it costs you $2 to acquire it. So the margin on this gift product is helping bookstores keep their margin high in general. And then when it comes to used bookstores, so used bookstores are a little bit different because the markup on those is usually 100, 200, 300, 400, 500%. It's at least 100% or more. So for example, if you acquire a hardcover or trade paperback for $1 and you sell them for anywhere between $3 to $5, like that margin is significant margin. Yes, it's a lower dollar value, but the margin is higher as well. And I remember, I've never worked at a used bookstore, but I have acquired remainders. And remainders are those books where a book comes out in hardcover. The way the industry works, it'll come out in hardcover where, it's $25, $35, $40, $45, whatever it is. And then a year later, the paperback version will come out, which is usually $10, $15, $20 cheaper, depending on the format it comes in. And then the stock is returned to the publisher, but the publisher's sitting on this stock that they can't sell. And so instead of destroying it, they liquidate it. So they sell it off for 50 cents a unit or $1 a unit or whatever. And they sell it to various businesses. There's one here in Thorold, Ontario called Book Depot that I used to acquire stuff for. I would be able to go down to the warehouse and pick titles up if I wanted to, like wander and decide what books I wanted to get. And you could acquire those books for maybe $2 or $3 or $4 and then sell them. So that's how I could have a hardcover in my store that could sell for $6 or $5, but I only paid $2 for it. And that's how those work. But that's where the margin in used books are. Now, the cool thing is that Donovan got a whole bunch of used books, but they didn't cost him anything. Or at least, realistically, they did cost him, the rental fee of the U-Haul, the delivery costs and the handling as well. But even if he amortized that cost, it's a pretty solid margin on those used books. And he was being very generous with them, obviously, because he didn't pay anything for them or paid very little to acquire them. But what a great opportunity. He talked about using those as sort of a lost leader to draw people into the store. They can get them for $1 or giveaways or whatever. So what a great way that he leveraged that. The other thing I wanted to reflect on is just how much he's leveraged the community. Working in collaboration with the library. And even if you follow, and I do encourage you to go and follow the store, Studio Moonfall, on Facebook, so you can see what he's doing. He's sharing lots of books, and from the books that are in his store, from the authors who he's brought in stuff from indie authors. I know he's carried a few of my books over the years, which has been amazing. It was really exciting to see. But even the book fairs and the stuff that he set up in the parking lot across the street from the store, the festivals and the book fairs. So again, drawing the community together. Like he's a storefront, like it's a walk-in storefront as well. So he's leveraging that community. And of course, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see his talk at Vegas because his talk is at the same time that I'm on a panel with Joanna Penn and Johnny B. Truant. But I know his talk's going to be amazing, and I am looking forward to hanging out with him and just chatting with him in person because I always learn so much about art, about running a store, etc. Now, the last thing I want to mention is I mentioned this offer to patrons. So when Dominic was talking about the Cut the Line promo, I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll give him 8 of my books. I'll pay to have 8 of my books put in the store. It supports his store, but it also gets some of my books out into the market, like maybe the first book in the Canadian Werewolf series or whatever, because that's promotional as well, right? Like giving it away for free, sort of. But then I thought, you know what? I love my patrons so much, and I want to thank them for being patrons. So I want to offer my patrons an opportunity. I'm going to do a draw. The form, as per usual, will be come out via Patreon. And this will be a form where you can indicate, yes, I'd love to participate, and this is me. I will pay to get 8 copies of your books into the store. Now, here's how I'm going to order them. I have an account, a bookstore account with Ingram, an iPage account. I was familiar with this because when I was a bookstore manager, I used to use iPage to order books from Ingram. So I will be purchasing your books that are available through Ingram. I'll, of course, get that bookseller discount, but I'm going to have them drop shipped to Donovan's store. They're going to cost him nothing. This is a way I can help support Studio Moonfall from afar, but I can also support you, and then you can benefit from the promotion. And even just, let's be honest, the coolness of having your books on display in this bookshop in Wisconsin. And of course, Donovan will share on social media so you can proudly show that your book is available in this amazing bookstore in his town. So that form will be coming out in the next few days. Patrons will get that notification. But again, it's a great way that I can support this amazing endeavor Donovan's done, and I can help support you. We all win. Yay! Isn't that exciting? But that's it for my reflection. That is it for this episode. I want to thank you so much for listening. It really does mean a lot that you're here and that you let me bend your ear. Next week's episode is going to be an interview I recently did with Becca Syme. I'm actually going to see Becca in person at Author Nation next week. I'm so excited about it, but I'm going to endeavor to try to get that recorded and everything done as quickly as possible so it can go live next Friday without me having to scramble at the last minute. Let's see how that goes. But that is what next week's episode is supposed to be. So it's very likely not going to come with any sort of personal update or comments or any of that additional material, at least to the best of my knowledge as I sit here and record this now. But thanks again so much for listening. If you love the podcast, please feel free to leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And I did notice recently I caught, oh, cool, people have been reviewing and rating the podcast over at Spotify. I think I see like 4.4 out of 5 average, unless it was out of 10. But in which case, hey, I'm just happy someone rated it. It just shows that people are actually listening to the podcast. So thank you for those who've left their reviews and ratings and comments, etc., etc. It all helps out. And if you find this episode or any episode valuable, please share it with someone else that you think would find value in it, because that's a great way. You're paying it forward. You're helping someone else. You're helping me. And gosh darn it, doesn't it just feel good? But again, for the third time, that's the end of this episode. Thanks again for listening. Until next week and until next episode, this is, as always, Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.